Hey guys, what's up, and welcome to day one of the PVM week. So for the first day, I went with one of the bosses that people wanted to see the most, and probably the boss that I get asked by far the most often, like, hey, can you show some videos on this? I'm having trouble killing this boss and all, and that boss is Araxxor slash Araxxi. So for this first kill here, I am showing a full kill on my Iron Man account. I don't believe I've ever done that before, and a lot of people are kind of wondering, what do you do with a more low-level setup? And I do have a tier 90 weapon on my Iron Man now, so I guess it's not really low-level anymore, but I'm in subjugation armor, and I don't have all of the absolute best gear that a main account would have, so it's definitely not like a maxed main Araxxor kill either. So, much to my chagrin, when I first started this kill, I realized that my aura was on cooldown, my runic accuracy aura, and that turned the kill from, usually I'm not a huge fan of Path 1 because of all the minion spawns, but usually it's not that bad, but with the runic accuracy aura on cooldown, I believe I have the accuracy aura that gives you an additional 7.5% accuracy versus Araxxor, and that really does make a huge difference, so you can definitely tell when the aura is not active. So unfortunately this kill just did not go very smoothly, but hopefully it can provide you guys a good example. Those of you that have been wondering how exactly I kill Araxxor on the Iron Man, this is how I do it. I do use Mage, which is probably, in most people's opinion, the most difficult way to kill Araxxor, because with Mage you have to fight the melee form of Araxxor, which means he's always right up in your face, and it's harder to dodge swipes that way, and also he adds these bleed damages onto you very often that can hit pretty hard, and you have to freedom out of them. And if you don't freedom out of the bleed, it hits you hard, but then if you do freedom out of the bleed, what happens is then your freedom is on cooldown, so you can't freedom to avoid stuff like Araxxor putting you inside a cocoon. So it's just kind of annoying fighting the melee phase Araxxor, but it's definitely doable. It's definitely a lot better with the runic accuracy aura, but I've come to the point where initially when I first started doing melee Araxxor or using magic versus Araxxor, I hated it. And now it's gotten to the point where it's tolerable, it's not that bad, and after a while you just get used to it. So one thing though is the Noxious Staff does do a much more damage than the Royal Crossbow, which is what I was using previously. So this is obviously a huge help versus Araxxor for any Iron Man. If you get a tier 90, definitely use that over a tier 80. I have seen some Iron Men like using a Royal Crossbow when they have a Noxious Scythe or have a Noxious Staff, and yeah, range is the easiest method versus this boss, but, kill speeds are just kind of slow. So even if you do use more supplies because you're fighting the melee phase Araxxor, it's definitely worth it, because with the level 90 weapon, you just get so much more accuracy. But anyway, definitely phase 4 was rough. Normally, again, with the aura, you'd be able to hit a lot more often than this, and the phase would go a lot more smoothly. One thing I've also been using on my main account, unfortunately not on this account, is the Shatter and Storm Shards abilities, which does make the very end of phase 4 quite a bit easier. You just use that ability when Araxxor is around 26,000 HP, and then you don't even have to worry about the core hitting you at all, so that really helps out a lot. Obviously, I don't have that on this account, but on my main account, I do have that ability, and hopefully I'll get lucky from raids. I'll get an ability codex, and I'll be able to get that on the Iron Man account as well, and that'll be super helpful for Araxxor. So I did do 20 total kills of Araxxor, and I'll show you guys the loot from all of these kills in just a second here. But the idea here is that Araxxor is going to be the boss that I do the least out of all the bosses during this week. And the reason for that is during the past couple days, I've been trying to take advantage as much as I can of when friends are online and ready to PVM, and trying to go to bosses with them, because, well, I only have like a limited amount of time to do stuff like Virago, because, the team isn't online all the time, so I have to really take advantage of every chance like that I get. So I'm trying to get as many kills in on the team bosses as I can. So unfortunately that led to me doing less Araxxor, although I don't necessarily see that as that much of a bad thing, just because Araxxor, for the most part, unless you get a leg piece or something, the loot is pretty standard, and also it is a solo boss, so you miss out on that whole interaction with other people and being able to like hang out with friends and PVM together. So I personally don't find this boss to be very fun. I know a lot of people really love it, and that's completely fine. If you're into solo bossing, this is probably the best boss in the game. I personally am not really that person. I'd much rather, go kill something like Virago or Calfight King, and that has been what I have been working on. However, it's still got a decent amount of kills here. Unfortunately, there was no drop, so no leg piece, no weapon handle as well in the 20 kills. And, you shouldn't expect to get a drop every single 20 kills, although I was thinking that The drops at Araxxor are fairly common. It's only about 1 in 30 to 1 in 35, so I figured this is a boss that I would have a pretty good chance at getting a drop at, but unfortunately we are going to have to wait for maybe tomorrow or the next day before we actually get a major drop in this entire week of spending time killing bosses. So there's just a lot of very standard stuff like onyxes, which I guess is a pretty decent drop, but it is a fairly common mill as well. U-logs, runite ore, all that kind of stuff. So it's time to price check the loot from all of these 20 kills and see exactly what we got. So here's the loot for the 20 kills at Araxxor that I did. A pretty decent amount of stuff, and one of the things that's really nice with Araxxor is I have been trying pretty hard to use a lot more rocktails and sharks rather than Cerato and Brewflask because they're going up a bit, and that's another reason why I really do prefer bringing a yak at path 1 at least. On path 2-3 it's a little bit easier, but really a decent amount of money there, 13.6 mil, not too bad, and I didn't spend too much on supplies again because I'm mostly eating rocktails and not so many of the brews anymore, and of course weapon charges and all that, but definitely profited at least 11 to 12 mil in just a couple hours. So even if you're not getting drops from Araxxor, it's still pretty decent money. So as I talked about a little bit earlier on in this video, Iron Man PVM did come out this morning, so that's one of the main reasons why I didn't do as much time as Araxxor as I'm going to be doing at a lot of these other bosses. But the awesome thing about that is all of these group bosses can now be accessed by Iron Man. So previously you could not go into the KK layer or into Virago or into the Rise of the Six instances as an Iron Man. You now can, however only with other Iron Man, so that's the only drawback. However, I've been having a blast going back to KK and feeling like you're achieving something rather than being on a main account and just getting some really cheap Drygore drops. You're getting some of the best weapons in the game for an Iron Man, and you're getting them yourself. So that's awesome. I'm going to be working on that. You guys will see that in the Iron Man Progress series, but this is something that I'm super hyped for, and this update finally came out, which is awesome. So anyway, I will see you guys tomorrow with the next boss. You'll find out which boss it is when the video is uploaded, and until then, farewell.